My name is Lee Kalcsits, and I am an associate professor in the Department of Horticulture and the current endowed chair of environmental tree fruit physiology, and now the programmatic lead for the Wenatchee Tree Fruit Research and Extension Center. I started in 2014 as an assistant professor, moved from Canada down here and started my lab, and yeah, I've been here for almost 11 years now.
What led you into agricultural sciences as a career?
So I initially did my bachelor's degree in horticulture at the University of Saskatchewan, but I grew up on a U-pick berry farm where we grew strawberries and raspberries and Saskatoon berries, which are also known as service berries that are domesticated up in Canada. So that's kind of how I got my start in horticulture. Growing up in Saskatchewan, Canada, winter times are obviously very, very cold. It's colder than Minnesota. So understanding how to have trees just survive those types of cold temperatures was always a challenge, and really piqued my interest and kind of led me down this road to working in environmental physiology in trees. My research itself is focused on how trees interact with their environment, whether that's what's going on above ground, how trees interact with heat. So we get a lot of heat in our summertime, and understanding how apples get sunburned, why they get sunburned, how to reduce the amount of sunburn apples get, and increase the pack out to growers' crops. So yeah, a lot of heat work, and then I also do work with nutrition, so understanding how and when to fertilize trees to produce apples with better fruit quality. There's a side of it where we're trying to understand the whys and hows a tree works or interacts with the environment, and then work with growers to develop ways to optimize that to make sure they're growing the most amount of fruit that is of the highest quality. So the mission of the Tree Fruit Research and Extension Center is to support the tree industry through research, discovery, and outreach, and that's basically our mission. We're part of a land-grant university, and part of that land-grant mission is research and extension and teaching. So we do all three here. We have graduate education, we have our extension programming and outreach programming that all our faculty do, and then we have our basic and applied research programs that we run here at the Research Center.
And if people have an appreciation and fondness for Washington apples, they might know this as the place where Cosmic Crisp originally came from.
Yeah, some of probably the original cross the original cross was done out at one of the research orchards, and the seedling was probably grown either in this greenhouse or the greenhouse beside us from the original trees.
Was this extension center, was this center also involved in WA64, which was just recently developed and named?
Yes, yeah, WA64 came from the same breeding program that's currently led by Dr. Kate Evans.
Can you describe Programmatic Lead and what your duties will involve?
Yeah, so the Programmatic Lead is it's a dual leadership role that the college has developed for this Research and Extension Center. So this dual role will have a facilities and operations manager, as well as a Programmatic Lead, which is my role, which is helping to support the faculty, the research and extension faculty here, and their programs to help them succeed and serve the industry best. We're still running the search for the facilities and operations manager. I think we're going to be initiating that shortly, and then hopefully we'll have that person in place maybe in the next few months.
The area of study that you're most recently involved in, I guess, is climate. There's a special study involving climate and how it affects tree fruit production. So can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so we just finished a study that's part of some of the work that we're just starting now with our large federal project, where we're looking at the impact of climate and extreme temperatures on apple production. So that paper looked at several different points during the growing season, whether it's winter, spring, summer, or fall, looked at critical points in the year that have an impact on fruit quality and fruit yields, and determined whether in the last 40 years those risks have been increasing for fruit losses, or decreasing, and we did that nationally. We mapped that across the whole United States and just showed that the risks are increasing to growers in these key apple growing regions.
Can you talk about some specific findings? Like, did you have specific findings that are very relevant to a central Washington orchardist, for instance?
Yeah, I guess the most relevant example is that the probability of having an extreme heat event like we had in 2021 has increased over the last 4 decades and is forecasted to increase more into the near future. So that just growers in Washington are used to dealing with extreme heat temperatures. We have lots of mitigation practices, evaporative cooling or netting or different practices that they use to reduce sunburn, but the frequency of that happening as it increases changes whether those are effective or not. We just need to be mindful and be able to predict those risks a little bit better. In October, we started a fundraising campaign for a plant growth facility, which is essentially replacing these greenhouses that we're currently in right now, with a whole new greenhouse facility and associated labs. So it'd be 26,000 to 28,000 square feet of both greenhouse space and associated lab space. So a lot of our facilities are between 50 and 70 years old. So it's an $18 million facility with an anticipated $10 million from the state, $4 million from royalty funds coming from WA38 or Cosmic Crisp royalties, and then we're fundraising through donations another $4.2 million. And we are hoping to complete that fundraising campaign by June 30th or July 1st of this year to start construction, which will be an 18-month build and be open, have the facilities open and ready for use in sometime in 2027. We've had this long-lasting impact on the industry over the last 50 years. Our mandate is to support the tree fruit industry both locally, nationally, and internationally. And it's really important that we have our facilities that can help us, allow us to continue that. And that's what this fundraising campaign is about, is developing the infrastructure we need to do modern research, whether it's entomology, whether it's pathology, whether it's plant breeding or physiology, which I do. We all need those types of facilities to do year-round research that impacts the industry and allows us to collaborate and develop partnerships with industry and other academic institutions around the nation and around the world.